did. I've done it for every single one where I watch my thing is I watch the movie and enjoy it, right? And then my plan is always to go back and watch it again and write notes the second
Yeah.
watch. And I
Yeah.
swear I get a page into it and I'm like, eh. So I brought that to the table again today.
All right. Cool.
Are you recording, Lauren?
Yeah,
Oh, cool. It
Yeah.
didn't pop up. Surprise.
I did it early.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like Lauren, you like you're kind of I'm noticing you like start it at a point where like I never expect you to start it, you know.
Well, because at a certain point we like transition into talking about it.
Yeah.
And if I were to just hit record at that point, it would be really like
Yeah.
jilted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Since we're
just cut
bad
out
at
all
a
the
structure.
Yeah.
well, I feel like this is the warm up, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well,
See?
this week we
Now I
watched
have to be like, record.
Yeah. That's a good point. So this week we had the pleasure of watching Crazy Rich Asians, which when did this movie come out? 2018, right?
2018. It seems
Yeah,
like it was a long time ago. And maybe it wasn't for me then, but it was for me now.
that's good.
Yeah,
That's good
for
to
sure.
hear.
Can
Yeah.
I start with okay, so we have a great cast
Mm.
on here.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know I just must have overlooked this movie so hard. Because like Ronnie Chang, I love his stand-up. He's wonderful. And
Which one is Ronnie Chang? I didn't actually look at the IMDb too
He's the
much.
one that keeps posing with his wife and kids, and he's like, get all the good angles, and then as soon as
Oh,
like
yes.
and then he like they hate each other.
okay, okay. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know he was stand-up. I'll have to check that out.
You have to. He's so funny. And I went down a little rabbit hole, probably watched it for over an hour. He's very funny.
Oh, cool. I went down a rabbit hole too with Aquafina. I've never
What'd
been
you
aware.
find?
I so first of all, like
Jenna
total
missed her
like
whole rise to fame.
yeah, like I completely missed all things Aquafina. Like she is so fucking funny. And I ended up like watching like all her old like rap videos, which are just like great. Like she is fucking funny.
I haven't seen any of them. I only know her from
Oh
like Shang-Chi.
no, you need to go watch at least if you watch any of her old rap videos, watch My Vag.
Okay.
So, so funny. Um, and as it turns out, Aquafina and I are like exactly precisely the same age. She was born on a day before me in the same year, in 1988. She was born one day before me, and she was born in Stony Brook, New York, and I was born in New Brunswick, New Jersey. So like we come from like the same like area, the same day, the same everything. So I like that. I thought that was cool too. But her brand of comedy is like hits like a very specific note for me.
She does always play this key character for that perfect comedic relief.
Mhm.
Because she was, I mean, in this movie, she was always in the movie when Rachel, her best friend, was down. So her
Mhm.
comedy was up because her friend was down, and I really liked that combination.
Mm.
But who else? Aquafina. I didn't know that this was Henry Golding, the main character. Nick, his name
Mhm.
is Henry Golding.
What is
I've
he
seen
from?
him in A Simple Favor.
He's been in quite a bit. It's just not anything that I've come across.
You know who else is in this? Like Ken Jeong.
Yeah.
I didn't really like his role in this to be honest, but I like him in almost everything else he does. I His role in this was like a little it wasn't funny to me. It didn't land, but like obviously he is a funny guy.
Mm-hmm. And then Michelle Yeoh, who I think everyone at this point, I don't know about in 2018 when the movie came out, if she was
Mhm.
quite as famous, but she's done Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I didn't see
Mm.
She's
that
done
one
a
yet
lot of
either.
Star Wars stuff. You haven't seen that one?
No, is it
Highly
good?
recommend. It's
Okay.
great. Yeah.
I do want to shout out Constance Wu, really just like great actress, and same with Gemma Chan, who played Astrid.
Mm.
Like
Yes.
really good acting from the two of them. They got me
Mhm.
emotionally. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
with them on all their highs and lows, like they
Mm-hmm.
They really, yeah, they're very impactful actresses.
And I loved Gemma Chan the way she spoke in this. And I
Mm,
do think the control of her voice was almost her superpower because
mm,
you couldn't get an emotion out of her even when she was a wreck. And I just thought, I don't know, it broke my heart a little bit, but also
mhm.
I just loved how soft spoken and controlled she was.
It definitely broke my heart. Like it went, especially when they were in the, well, we'll get to it, but when, when her husband really laid into her
Mm-hmm.
and she finally cried, like, oh,
It makes her words so impactful though, because then she really
mhm.
nails him at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I love her. Her character arc is my favorite in the whole movie, but we'll get to that. But yeah, she's the big winner to me in this movie for
And then
sure.
one other person I just want to call out is Nico Santos. We were sitting there
Oh yeah,
watching it. Yeah.
Q from yeah, I remember when we were watching Happiness for Beginners and we kept on
Oh
commenting.
yes, that's what
Yeah, it's
it was.
Hugh. We kept on
Yes,
commenting on like these are great actors and actresses. Like I just want to see them in something else. And then the second he popped up as Ollie, I was
yes,
like, there he is. I wanted this. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
yeah, and he's good.
Jenna couldn't remember the name of the movie. She kept like saying other things instead of
She
Happiness
was
for
blocking it
Beginners.
out.
Yeah, what did you say? You were
I
like,
said shiny happy people,
yeah, from Shiny Happy People. I was like, no.
which that's a documentary about the Duggars. That could not be less Asian and more different than this. Oh man. But anyway. All right, well, do you want to just jump into, the movie? Like, you know,
Absolutely.
it's
1995,
1995.
A Dark and Stormy Night.
Yeah.
We have a very wet family arrive at the Calthrop private hotel. The mom, the sister, and two children. The mom is Mrs. Eleanor Young, and she goes to try to check into the hotel,
And this
which
is
she
and
mhm,
this is in London, right?
is it
Yeah. Okay.
okay?
Sorry. Go on, Whitney.
No, it's fine. She asks that they check into their hotel, that she has reserved the suite, and he said there must be some mistake, that they
Mhm.
do not have anyone, they don't have anything available. And she asks for a phone, and they don't let her use the phone. They send her outside back into the storm where you can hear her screaming on the phone to somebody.
Well, and this is where, I felt like this opening scene was really good at setting up something here because it's 1995, right? Which is important because these hotel attendants are being racist as fuck towards
Mm-hmm.
them. And then I think the other thing that this is speaking towards is that potentially, and based on the quote that they played too from Napoleon, like the world did not see this coming, right? The world, right? Like the quote from
Mm-hmm.
Napoleon, like let China sleep because when she wakes up, like, the world is going to be like, holy crap. Like I can't remember the exact quote, but
Sounds accurate.
good, good paraphrasing.
thanks. But this is kind of like showing that in real time, right? Like here is like this, extremely wealthy Asian family. The people in London have no idea who they are because, what is like, these white cultures are not concerning themselves with, what's going on in Asia, and specifically in Singapore. So like I just thought it was like a really good opening scene to kind of set the stage that like you don't even know who you're dealing
Mm-hmm.
with here. Like you're being racist and you are ignorant to what is upon you. Anyway, they end up having a little bit of a reveal here too, that they have purchased this hotel.
Absolutely. When she walks back in, the man running the hotel starts to get upset with her that she came back into the hotel, and ding, somebody comes out of the elevator, so happy to see her. It's the owner of the hotel. And that's when we find out that he sold his hotel to a young family from Singapore, the
Hmm.
Youngs,
That's right, which is like such a fun moment.
for
You're
all
just
of
like,
us.
boom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and what's funny about this scene is I felt bad and then happy for Eleanor.
Yes.
So I like she's the first character that I had like a lot of empathy for. So I just want to note that
Hmm.
now because that, changes a lot.
It does change a lot. It ebbs and flows throughout the movie. I go
Yeah.
from having empathy to her to disliking her to back to being empathetic towards her. Like that woman did such a good job with this
Hmm.
character. Like
Mm-hmm.
holy roller coaster. Like
Yeah.
holy complex character, you know, that
Yeah.
just well done, you know.
Well, then next we're scooped away to present day 2018
Mm-hmm.
with two people playing poker. We meet the main girl, Constance Wu, who plays Rachel Chu. And it turns out she's teaching a college economics class, and they are learning lessons about why we make decisions the way we do, which is kind of foreshadowing for the decision making she has to do later in the movie.
What was it again? It was like the
Game theory.
yeah, the fear of loss, right? Like he wasn't playing the game. He was playing the game for fear of loss, right?
Mhm.
Which yeah, does end up being like a big theme throughout the movie. I mean, the movie was tight with all this, with all their
Yeah.
themes and
Yeah.
their foreshadowing, and you know, there was really very little in this movie that I was like, you know, where does that belong? You know?
Mhm.
And yeah, so we right away we get this, you know, we get an idea of like Rachel and who she is, you know.
Mhm.
She's very confident, competent economics professor, you know, and she's kind of like it seems like she's kind of at the top of her game in that way.
Mhm.
I would love to have her for as a professor, by the way. Like I wanted to be in that class. I was like, oh, cool, cool. That was a cool way to teach that. You know, like she just schooled some kid in poker. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, she said, "I one thing I know, he's cheap."
Yeah. But this is like a cool scene because Lauren, you and I like have gone down some poker rabbit holes like in the last year. Like we've really kind of discovered that like we love poker.
Mhm.
And we've even gone to play at the casino, which
When I'm
we
stressed, I like watching poker on TV for some reason.
Aw.
Yeah.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
Jenna was like, "What is this?" And then all of a sudden we found ourselves at Foxwoods sitting at the
Oh,
tables.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sat down 5 minutes later, Jenna tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I busted, I'm out."
I think poker is a really is a really good way to learn about yourself and to learn about other people and their like everything that Rachel was teaching in her class is so true and
Mhm.
Yeah.
like something that I would like to get really good at and like obviously you know eventually when perhaps there's some expendable income that I don't feel you know like obviously I can't really you know afford to play poker for real right now but I would like to do that one day, you know, have a little budget for that because I think for me it's like a personal growth thing that like if I can actually get decent at poker, that would mean that like I have grown in a lot of ways.
Like
So
you can control your emotions about it.
and learn to read other people a little
Yeah.
better, you know, and not be so reactive, you know. So to me, poker is a personal growth goal that I have in my life. So, yeah. But anyway, that's back to the back to the movie.
So
Just
Jenna
thought it was a
was
good
hooked.
setup. It was a good setup. It grabbed me right away,
Well,
you
and
know.
she's so young too, and they do bring that up later, but like I think they say she's the youngest professor at NYU, right? So like,
Mm.
you know, she's a smarty.
Yeah, she's accomplished. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So next I think we're in a cafe. At first, I thought it was a bar, but then when I watched it later, it sure was an espresso machine with coffee cups on the top.
Yeah. Maybe
So
it was a combination because that's kind of a thing that's becoming a little bit popular and they are
yeah,
in New York City.
and
So,
it was just late, so I figured it was a bar. But we have Rachel Chu, who is Constance Wu that we've wait,
mhm,
yeah, Rachel Chu, who's Constance Wu, and then Nick Young, played by Henry Golding.
mhm.
They're just meeting in a cafe. They're being super cute together. They've been dating for about a year, and he invites her to go with him to his best friend's wedding. He's the best man for in Singapore, where she would also be meeting his family for the first
Right.
time.
And this is where we learn that, you know, this is where start to learn that she doesn't know crap about his life in Singapore, which is so weird.
She doesn't know much, but then we get the very cool scene of the one woman who walks by with her phone and takes a picture
Mm.
of Nick and Rachel. I think up until this point, we kind of assume as an audience that we know who he is, but it hasn't been talked about why it's so significant that this girl walks by him, and then it spreads on social media within minutes
They just kind of
that
show it.
those two are together.
Yeah. I like that they showed it and they didn't do any exposition on this point. The
Yeah,
way
it
that
was a lot of fun how they did
yeah,
it.
yeah, they took us on a little social media screen journey.
Hmm. And when I went back to watch it the second time, I noticed some of the female characters that we see later are intermixed within all of that social media. So we really are seeing them find out
Hmm.
Mhm.
about it, but I didn't realize who it was until I watched it again, that it was
Yeah.
actually everyone that we see later in the movie.
That's
Oh,
cool.
cool. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I didn't catch that, but I only watched it once.
Right.
What were you gonna say, Lauren?
It was funny that the punchline of that whole thing too, when you realize that all of that was meant to have happened over a course of minutes, because as I'm watching that unfold, I'm thinking this is taking days, because it
Mhm.
finally gets to his mother who's leading a Christian Bible reading.
Yeah.
And the other women sitting there, the other aunties and whatnot, are can't get through like Corinthians to they have to talk about the fact that it sounds like her son is bringing a woman home, and does she know? And it's the whole thing was funny to me too, because then she stands up and she's like, move on to this chapter, and then she like gets on the phone, she's like delegating the Bible reading, like,
Yeah.
but that was cool
Mhm.
too, because you're learning how she's the boss,
Hmm.
right? Like it's not even like
Mhm.
you're learning that through a family setting, you're learning that through her Bible study. She's the
Hmm.
boss.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
She's the queen bee.
Yep.
She what I took a note on that because they read a verse out loud, which again, just like more clever writing in this movie. The verse was like, set your eyes above and not on the earth, and not on earthly things. And then they immediately get to being obsessed with earthly things for the rest of the movie. Maybe a little bit of foreshadowing there that like that is the mother's character arc, is that she does need to, for lack of a better term, like set her eyes above, a little bit, as her growth, we'll see that kind of unfold. But I just thought that was a funny verse for them to have read out loud.
During this conversation, did you pick up what the mom said to Nick during the conversation? She said she would have the room ready for him, putting
Hmm.
emphasis on him. And Nick said, "Oh, mom, Rachel and I will be staying together."
Hmm.
And she goes, "Oh, well, the guest rooms are being redone. She'll have to find somewhere else to stay."
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
catch that? I didn't catch
Mhm.
it till the second one, and I was like,
Oh,
"Oh,
really?
the
Yeah.
audacity!" What?
Yeah.
God.
Oh, I mean, audacity is a great word to describe Eleanor in this
Yeah.
movie. I mean, she's got a lot of it. Like,
Yeah.
she is
Anyway,
shocking.
I
yeah.
caught it, and I at the time, I mean, you I thought it was really smart, because we're shown how much he's going to overlook with his mom
Hmm.
right away. And because
Yes.
he's just comfortable to pivot. He's like, we'll just stay in a hotel because we are going to stay together,
Hmm.
right? He's not like, this is my girlfriend who I care a lot about, and you're going to need to like lock it up. He's just like, oh, I'll just accommodate your behavior over here.
Mm.
And then also
Yeah.
like not tell my girlfriend anything about it.
That's a really good point because he does kind of skate past a lot of her,
Hmm.
you
And that's
know.
his development through the movie.
Right.
Next, we're introduced to Rachel's mom, and they're out shopping,
Mm.
looking for the best outfit or dress to meet
Hmm.
Nick's family in. It's a nice scene because it's showing the difference from their perspective
Hmm.
on what being Asian means or is.
Hmm.
Because when Rachel is talking to her mom, she's like, but his mom will be happy that I'm Asian. And
Chinese
or
specifically.
Chinese.
Yeah.
And Rachel's mom explains, you're a different Chinese. You were brought
Hmm.
up here, and there is a difference,
Hmm. And
when,
the mom is right about that because
mhm,
that does become an issue later
yeah.
too. Like, I mean, first of all, she's not in their class, right? She's
Well, they don't know anything about the family yet, remember?
right. They don't know that, right? Going into
Right.
this,
She
they're
said Nick
thinking
could
this
be
is
poor.
right. Going into this, their primary concern is, am I Chinese enough,
Right.
right, for these people? Because I gather she knows enough to know that they are Chinese because his family did start in China and then come
Hmm.
over to Singapore. So the primary concern is, am I Chinese enough?
Hmm.
And Rachel's like, of course I am. And right, her mother
And mom
provides
just kind of walks away.
yeah, the mother provides her with the insight of like, oh, sorry, no, you're not.
Yeah, you might not be.
I
Yeah,
loved that mom. I thought she was so cute. She's so kind. She's like charming. She
yeah,
delivers like tough messages, but
yeah.
like
Oh no, she's awesome. She's the MVP of this whole movie.
it reminds me of Whitney when you said that your parenting style is like a lecture and a hug at the same time. That's what
Yeah,
that reminded me of.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, because we were saying that too about Jake's mom from Sweet Home
Yes.
Alabama, and that's
Yes.
yeah, like yeah, this mom provided that as
Yep.
well, you know.
hmm And I do want to say, I looked it up. There are no Jakes in this one. Sorry.
Finally.
I was wondering why I felt a little incomplete.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, yeah, so this is a nice little scene just kind of setting up the relationship between them and it also reveals like Rachel's roots a little bit, like she was definitely raised in a very humble way, it seems, in a way
hmm
that like she's just like they're just like salt of the earth, kind of people.
Yeah,
So
and what I like about that scene as well is it shows that her mom did teach her culture growing up. She didn't just like
well she speaks
Americanize her. Right.
yeah, she speaks Mandarin.
Right. That she brought her up knowing the tales and just the traditions and things like that. So I think that was
Right.
important as well.
Yeah. And then basically right after this scene, we cut to the airport, right? And this
hmm
is where we find out that, we start to really find out pretty quickly how wealthy this
Right.
guy
And I
is.
love Rachel's face when she's boarding the plane because she's not saying anything, but she keeps getting handed these luxuries and walking through these spaces. And her face is like, what?
Yeah.
But
Doesn't
she's
she
just
like think it's
like
a
taking the
mistake?
things. Yeah.
She's like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
We're coach people.
Yeah.
And what did she turn to Nick? She's like, we can't afford this. These pajamas are nicer than anything I own.
Yeah.
And then she starts asking questions because she needs to understand why it's happening.
And this is what I love about Rachel. Can I just say at this point, based on what you just said there, Whitney, and this is what I love about Rachel, and this is one of the things I like about the writing in this movie. She says everything I wanted her to say.
Mhm.
She doesn't leave anything unsaid. Nick leaves freaking everything unsaid. That's his MO. He's just like, I'm just gonna keep this girl in the dark and hope for the best. It's basically, and which I don't like that he does that. Although he's charming enough to continue to redeem himself to me, but like I don't like that he does that to her. I feel like that's so unfair to her
Yeah.
that she has no idea what she's getting into, and he just keeps on doing it to her.
Mhm.
But I don't find that to be very respectful towards her. But yeah, she says everything, man. Everything I want her to say, she directly addresses everything like very specifically, and it was so satisfying. I was like, "Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you." Like,
And she like politely is asking the questions and like she's not like you need to tell me everything right now. She's just nudging and
yeah,
letting him take his time, but she knows constantly that that's not the full story. That's not the full story. And
yeah.
then, you know,
I think very appropriately she expresses a lot of curiosity.
Yeah. I was worried that some of that was going to turn into more of a plot point, which was going to make me feel mad that
Mhm.
she just maybe wouldn't say anything and let things happen to her. And yeah, she like definitely
She
exhibits a
doesn't.
lot of agency throughout the whole movie, which I really liked.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Female protagonist with agency. Thank you.
Yeah. And they didn't just like hover over the fact that he was rich or whatever. They then immediately went into introducing his family. He started talking about his family. And this is where my notes end because he starts off with cousin Alistair, who he's based in Taiwan. He works in movies and he's dating Kitty Park.
Right.
And have you guys seen Ted Lasso?
No.
No.
I knew you were going to say no, and I knew I was going to be upset.
Another huge chunk of culture that we have completely missed up.
You will both appreciate it very much. But there's this actress on there. What's her name? Juno Temple is her name in real life. Her name's Keely on that show. But I can just this actress that played the actress that's dating the cousin reminds me of Juno Temple, and it just made me laugh even harder because I could see Juno doing it. Just watch Ted Lasso. Okay, anyway, so cousin Alistair is the first relative that we're introduced to. What's the next one?
I think Astrid, right? Or she's definitely in the mix
She's
here. I don't.
last.
Oh,
She's
she's
last
last.
because
Okay, I didn't
she's
take.
like precious to him, so she's last.
Okay, right. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
take a note on like each person that they went through, but it's really just like all the main people that they keep touching on throughout the movie. And
Yeah.
they're pretty much all insufferable except for Astrid. Like she's cool right away.
I thought she saved the day as far as her personality being put into the mix.
Hmm.
It's very overwhelming because yeah, we have Rachel, but then we have 25 to what 50 other women that are just so overwhelming and
Hmm.
awful that you
Hmm.
want to leave. And luckily,
Hmm.
later in the movie, we get to because of
It's
Astrid.
it's
Right.
like these people all represent different facets of what extreme wealth can do to people. Like it's like just the way that they behave, their entitlement and their, like this like ultra wealthy thing where they just say and do whatever the fuck because it doesn't matter. And,
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's so true, honestly. And I feel like we've been seeing a lot of this unfold recently in our culture, like with this ultra wealthy entitlement of just
Mm-hmm.
like, looking upon it, you're just horrified at the behavior and the personalities of these people, but they're living in a world where it just the path is paved. They can act and talk and do whatever the fuck they want, like,
Mm-hmm.
and then we get to lovely Astrid, who is wealthy and comfortable with that. She actually seems comfortable with it, and
She's walking down a jewelry store.
hmm
Everybody's like gasping as she walks past. She's so
hmm
kind to the little girl at the end who has a
yeah,
little rabbit who seems to be getting ignored by her own mother. And then Astrid just says like, "Oh, you have such good taste. Your rabbit looks so good with this bow that
she
you
just
picked
pays
out."
really close attention to that little
Mm-hmm.
girl who obviously needed it, in that
Yeah.
moment. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes into the special room in the back and is shown all of these very, very nice jewels and whatnot. And then her eyes set on something to the side and she gets to buy these queen's jewelry
hmm
earrings or whatever at cost for like over $1 million.
1.2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I
Yep.
liked, it showed that she has really like good taste as far as like wealthy stuff taste. Like I mean, there's different types of tastes out there, and obviously
Mm-hmm.
this is like wealthy stuff taste, but like it shows that she does have good taste, right? Because he's showing her all this stuff, but her eyes go directly to the really rare thing,
Mhm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of took a note of that. It doesn't actually like it just builds her character, like, like she's classy and she has the ability to kind of see through to the actual unique thing, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah,
I also,
it's go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I have realized about myself that I love seeing women take care of themselves.
Hell yeah.
Like I loved seeing her go and like pick out the thing that she wanted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we do, Lauren, you and I do have like a special place in our hearts for like, you know, a woman
Independent
like
women taking care of themselves. Like,
hell yeah. Hell
yeah,
yeah. However
yep,
that looks,
yep,
yeah.
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 What
Doesn't need
I
to be in a jewelry store, but
No, it does not.
what
Just
I was confused about at first, I don't know if I wasn't watching this 100% like with all my attention, but I didn't understand until later in the movie when after she was done at the jewelry store, when she got home, she started hiding everything and
yeah.
everyone that worked for her in the home started hiding everything for her. It definitely wasn't the first time. Everyone knew
Mhm.
exactly what to do because I think she said it. You know what to do. Quick.
Yeah, I mean
I
that
didn't get it
that
either.
that again, right? Yeah, we didn't get it at first, but again, show don't tell. They did such a good job of that in this
Right.
movie.
Well, and it gave me the wrong impression. I thought she was hiding things so her husband didn't know she was spending the money,
Hmm.
which in the end is true, but not for the reason I thought.
Yeah, not because of the money, right?
Right.
It's actually because he
Well,
holds a high level of contempt towards her
right.
because
Anyway,
yeah. Well, he's an asshole. I mean, so we do, yeah. We pretty quickly find out though that like it's not long after, right? Because then she goes home and she hides everything.
mhm.
Oh, are we skipping ahead?
No.
Or
You are.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
All right. Sorry.
She has all that stuff hidden. She takes her earrings that she just bought and she puts them on top of a mirror so that nobody can see them or reach them.
Mhm.
And then she's reading her son a story in bed. So she's like,
Is she not one of the most beautiful women you've ever seen?
yes, she's
Yes.
stunning. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. But so and then her husband comes home and he is starting a business and he seems cranky, and then
Mhm.
he does say, like, did I see one of the people, like the servants, like hiding a box of, I don't even remember what the brand was, you
Mhm.
don't have to do that. And then it's your money anyway, you can spend it how you like. And then she says, well, I did end up getting you something also, and she hands him this like very nice watch and says, you're not a captain in the military anymore, you're a CEO and you should look the part. And it's like she's trying to be loving, and you can see, again, just really good acting in this movie. Like his face has all the complicated trappings of like resentment and then like guilt and appreciation all at once.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I don't like him at all.
Well, he's likable relatively in this moment.
Like there was potential. There was like
There was
a
potential.
yeah. Yeah.
Then we arrive at the airport in Singapore,
Oh yeah, and
where
I did have a note though, real quick about the
okay,
plane ride. They have their little talk and everything. And they're in those like like plane seats where you can like sleep, which I'm like, I wish that was every friggin'
hmm
airplane. I would love that.
hmm
I mean, I was wondering, is that real? If you
Yeah,
were to do
I think
across
so.
ocean,
it is. Yeah, those sleeper, yeah, those are real. Yeah.
what do you think a
Um,
ticket like that costs? Looking
oh,
it up.
probably,
No, I
how
want
do
to
you
know
even
too.
look that up?
Please,
How do you
she's
even,
booked. She's gonna almost book it.
Yeah,
yeah,
I am gonna
careful.
almost book it.
Oh my God.
No.
Lord, we worked so hard. Don't squander it. Anyway, my note about on the plane is just he got a little frisky on the plane with her, and I was like, okay, you are
Oh,
in
did he? I
public.
don't even remember.
Yeah, like it was like, yeah, they showed it like as if they were about to make love. Like it was like, geez, you're like on a plane, bro. But anyway, doesn't mean anything. It was just a side note. And then they land, right? And then they immediately are like pretty quickly they're out like getting street food with the people that are they're there for the wedding and everything,
Yeah,
right?
the bride and groom that
Yeah.
they pick them up. I love them both, and they're both so kind to Rachel right away.
Yeah.
I loved what what's the bride's name?
She didn't have like a huge part in the whole thing.
But I really liked her now when it's just the two couples, but I really disliked her later when she was around the big group.
I don't know who
Yeah.
you're talking about, but I just wanted to interject because I've been reading about prices.
Okay.
And then I'm
Okay.
going to get back in here. So if you wanted to take Singapore Airlines, you could spend anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 per ticket.
What?
Specially designed carpeting, unlimited champagne. Suites feature a bed that you can convert into a double bed, a chair that reclines, a TV, a full-size personal wardrobe. That feels like the one that they were on, right?
Yeah.
And then there's like, is it Emirates
Yeah,
airline?
United Emirates.
Yeah, that one over $3,000 per seat. Air France, you could get an ultra premium flight experience for $16,000 per ticket.
Oh, I thought it was
Um,
going to be expensive.
wow.
There's something about us that about you that you're not telling us.
But while we figured out that we could never afford to fly like that, her name is Araminta.
Okay,
That's the
the
bride's name.
fiance, right?
Yeah,
The
that's
bride.
the
Yeah.
fiance.
Yeah.
And her husband to be is Charlie.
Okay.
Nope, is Colin
Colin?
Koo.
Yeah,
Colin
Colin.
Koo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I like Colin. I like Colin throughout the whole movie.
Yep.
He's obviously Nick's good friend. He gives a shit about him. Like he's good. He seems like a
Yeah,
good
and
guy.
he asks Nick all the hard questions later, but is still supportive of what Nick wants. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's definitely a solid character. And
Yeah.
I liked Aramita at the beginning, but as she got to be around her friends, nah, not
Yeah.
so much. They all
Yeah.
became each other. So
Well,
Yeah.
she just another one of these people that just I mean, I feel like Nick addresses this at one point too, but she just like turns a blind eye to bad behavior, right? Like it's just
Mhm.
again, it's just I want the world to be what I want it to be, so I'm gonna be really nice to you over here. I'm just gonna ignore that anything bad's happening over
Mhm.
here. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, they're having a great time. They're out getting amazing looking street food that made me want it so bad, and I'm so hungry. And I also now would like to go to Singapore.
Yes, please take me with you.
Yeah,
I
okay.
have a new job and I have vacation days and I'll use them.
Okay. We
So
will be
we'll all just start saving for our $30,000 ticket.
yeah, I was gonna say, don't expect to be able to lay down on the flight, but we can maybe we can make something happen. We'll just go down with the luggage and the animals.
We're gonna need someone to like take us as a guide too. I would like a guide.
Oh man, it would be so cool though. I actually know somebody that lived there. This girl that I coached, her father had a job that brought her family to Singapore for a little while, and she got to like live there. And it looked really cool, like based on her social media. But
All right, so they ate food, they went back, they had some sex, they woke up, they had some sex, and now it's time to meet what's her
yeah,
name?
she
Oh,
goes to visit.
Pikeland.
Well, because
Pikeland.
they're like, okay, I gotta go, right? We're
Right.
gonna meet later at my grandmother's house, right? Which again, consistently underprepares her because the thing at his grandmother's house is like a huge formal party. But anyway, she just thinks she's going to meet his grandma. Like, it's not that at all. But anyway, and in the meantime, she goes to her friend's house, played by Aquafina. What's her name in the movie?
Her name is Pikeland.
Oh yes, okay, yeah, Pikeland. So, yeah, Aquafina, fucking hilarious.
And this is where I feel like we learned the most about Nick and what his family actually means, how much money they actually have, how powerful they are, how important Nick is.
Yeah,
And she really, I think this is where Rachel really probably starts to get overwhelmed with the
yes,
information.
yeah. Aquafina's or Pikeland's family fills her the fuck in like pretty
Yeah, as soon as
quickly.
they
Yeah.
realize where she's going and who her boyfriend is. And then
Yes.
she is given a new outfit and desperately explained, gets the explanation of like why what she's planning to wear is just like incredibly inappropriate and where she's going and
Yeah, and just a note on Pikeland's family, like they are a ridiculous group of people.
Yeah.
Um
well, and they're
they
wealthy too. Like
they're also extremely wealthy, just not of the level, of like the Youngs, but like they are kind of really mean to Pikeland, honestly. The dad is, like they seem like a pretty friggin' dysfunctional group of people, but Pikeland's like all over the place, but she's really good, like a thoughtful friend, so they're new money. They say that even. They're new money. And yeah, they're super comfortable. Yeah, to just say and do whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is Ken Jeong and
Yeah.
his family.
Yeah.
And obviously he can make us uncomfortable. He's good at that.
Yes.
He's a good
Yes, he
actor
is.
for
Yeah.
that.
yeah, the dad
Yeah.
keeps trying to get his son to try to date Rachel,
Yeah, it's
which
like
is also
creepy.
very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's all very uncomfortable. But but anyway, Pikeland's like, a really good friend and a nice little home base for Rachel during this whole thing,
Yeah,
'cause she
and
doesn't.
Rachel really takes it in stride. She's just taking the information with her and trying to just move very quickly through the awkwardness.
Well, she's in a different place where she's never been before too,
Mhm.
and like, but I feel like Rachel's just kind of like, oh my God, like where am I? Who are these people? Like I don't know what's good and what's bad and what's wrong and what's right. So she just kind of
Yes.
rolls with it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot more artificial smiling that starts happening now.
Yes. This is the beginning of her realizing that she
Faking
is
it
a,
until she makes it.
a fish out of water. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they get ready. She gets a new outfit from Pikeland, and then she gets taken to the grandmother's house. Well, I guess it's the young house, I would right?
Well, no, it is the grandmother's house. But I do get the sense that they all live there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like the family estate. And since the grandmother's still alive, I think it's just her house, but
Gotcha.
it's
But
just the family
but
estate.
like on the drive to there, they end up on this very dark, windy road. Not even
Yeah, they're
sure
not
if they're
even
going to like there's nothing there, nothing exists. They
right.
GPS keeps telling them to turn around.
yeah. And then these two people come out of nowhere
Hmm.
and
And
end up checking their identity, and then they let him go in.
they have like like I thought it was so like kind of cool like that they weren't even on the GPS coordinates. Like you can't even find their home. And we get into the party and it's like obviously like this crazy thing. He like invites Pikeland, like and she's
Wait,
her
don't just brush over this because we get there. Pikeland, I think she's my favorite character in this.
yeah.
She gets out, introduces herself to Nick, and Nick invites her to stay. She is in very nice pajamas, I think.
Yes.
Nick invites her to stay, and of course she wants to stay. And she opens up her trunk where what's in there? She has a cocktail dress. She has
a clubbing outfit, a cocktail outfit, and then like one other one. I can't remember.
A walk of shame outfit.
Oh, the walk of shame. Yeah.
And
but they're
she
all
has
in
no
dry cleaner,
shame.
nice
I
bags.
love her.
Yeah. She's awesome. She's just ready for whatever.
And all I could think was if I was Rachel in that moment to have Pikeland with me, I would have been so grateful and relieved. Mm-hmm. I was very happy that he invited her to stay. And she's like, hell yeah.
I have a bit of a different take on that.
You do? What? Tell me.
Okay, so was I relieved for Rachel that her friend was coming in with her? Yes. So I agree with you there. Pikeland scares me a little bit because I would be like looking at what I'm about to come upon, this level of wealth and these people and his family and this, right? Pikeland would feel like a little bit of a liability to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd be afraid of what she's
going to... But she wouldn't have known that yet. That is how his family is.
No. I just think in that moment, I would be like, oh, fuck. And then I think I immediately would be afraid of Pikeland coming in because I would be so scared to be talking to these people and interacting and mingling with them that now I have this like wild card friend who's just got like this no fucking filter. Like right. I would be scared.
But she did just help you get dressed to look the part. So it's
no. That's why I'm saying it's a little bit of both because it's like, you know what I mean? Like,
you want to control what you can control because you can't control anything.
Like, obviously, Pikeland is her ride or die, and that's fucking awesome. Like, it's just that her ride or die is a bit of a wild card. But anyway, obviously, Pikeland is rad. Like, I'm not putting her down. But anyway.
Then we go into the party.
Yes. Yeah. I can't help progress this forward.
Rachel gets introduced to a lot of the different members of the family. She thinks she's talking to the grandmother at one point and isn't. And to me, I think the most significant thing here, I mean, she meets his mother and she is like not terrible until she is a little terrible, and she starts commenting on how American she is in her pursuing her passions profession. And so we get these slight digs. She's like not quite giving her attention. She's still managing the kitchen, right? Because Rachel's not, I feel like you're just meant to feel like you're not very important, right? Rachel's not very important. And then again, Nick is like, oh, she's tough, but she warms up, like, again, just making excuses for this behavior. And the other thing that feels significant here is then she meets the cousins, and all of the cousins are terrible except for Astrid. And Astrid's husband does say before Rachel gets there, is she prepared for this? And he can hardly stand it. He gets made fun of by the cousins and he goes off into his own side room. I just think that's important because you're seeing the parallels between two people that are not from this world and what their experience is like. And he's been there and it's still not very good for him. So there's not much difference between him and Rachel's experience at this point. And then so Astrid ends up bringing food to her husband, and he's in the side room, and he's already done this a couple times, but he keeps making excuses for reasons he won't be able to attend different things. And he's launching this tech startup and it's very important, and he goes to get like a spoon or something, and she picks up his phone because she thinks his work is calling, and she sees that he's having an affair.
I know, which I was like, bro, why would you leave your phone there? Like, I mean, obviously, like, I want her to find out, but I'm just saying, like, dude, probably should have brought the phone,
Yeah, but sometimes I think that people that are cheating want to be found out.
Absolutely. And to be clear, it was a simple text. What did it say? The bed is cold without you.
Yeah, it's like
so it was very clear, but very short.
Yeah.
that's all we get, so that we know she's fighting with that on the inside, but we don't really get anything on the outside from her. But
Oh,
we
felt
know
so
that
bad.
it's more than what it seems. Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
she's trying so hard to
Mhm.
accommodate this guy and to make him feel comfortable and cared for, and she just really puts her best foot forward for him, and he puts his worst foot forward for her, you know.
Mhm.
Relate.
You can relate to that?
Oh, just a little.
Yeah, it sucks because it's like what he wants you to believe is that her family's wealth and all their nonsense is the problem,
Mhm.
but really the problem is him,
Mhm.
you know.
I feel like Rachel starts to get a little flustered because she thought she met the grandmother, which was really the nanny, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think she started to get flustered there at the end, and she ended up spilling some wine on
Yes.
Nick. Nick
Yep.
had to go change his shirt, and basically his mom was there to help him every step of the way. And I think that was really good insight on mom is a little too close and can't let go of her baby boy. I mean, that it was
Yeah.
clear at that point. I mean, we already knew that.
Yeah.
But she's still not going on her full offensive yet because
Hmm.
she's like, we really thought you were coming back. I was given such a hard time by your grandmother when you didn't, like she's like
Right.
laying these guilt things, right? Like she's setting out these traps. And they do say at one point that like Nick is just the favorite, and I think his friend later says like, you're untouchable, but everybody else around you isn't, right?
And
And like,
for example, Rachel would not be untouchable.
right, right. But so even like the mother is giving him a hard time, and he just keeps giving her that smile, and he's like, yeah, it's fine, like I know, it's good, like. And then Eleanor makes a comment about engagement, and he says, when there's something to know, you'll know, right? So now she knows that he's serious, and so now we have that new information. Meanwhile, Rachel is downstairs, and she ends up getting in a conversation with Nico Santos. What is his name again in this?
Ollie.
Ollie.
Oliver. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So she meets him. He's the lesser cousin, right?
Well,
He says that he
and
can procure things for the family, but he's like the poorest of them all.
and he also said that he was the rainbow one, where we
Yeah.
find out he's playing like a gay character in this movie too.
Can you hear my dog?
No.
No.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Aw, cutie pie. Okay, so yeah, but we kind of like immediately like Ollie. He seems like a friend immediately.
Yeah. He's real.
Yeah, a real one. Okay, so then after this, right, she does meet the grandmother, and the grandmother is kind to her in the first scene here. Another very complicated character, you know.
She is kind to her, and I feel like she's kind to her throughout the entire movie until the end, which we'll get to. Right? I felt like I was caught off guard. I felt like the grandmother showed that she did approve of Rachel by
Yeah.
the way she acted around Rachel. But I guess
Do
I'm
you
wrong.
do you think, knowing everything we know, having watched the whole thing, do you think the grandmother was maybe just assuming that Rachel was, a quote unquote a fit according to their standards? Do you think she was just assuming that until she found out otherwise?
Or do you think she was just assuming that Eleanor would do all the work in weeding out a weak woman?
Yeah.
I think Nick is the prize. I think that he can do no wrong. It doesn't seem to matter. And I
Mhm.
think that there's just, so I think that's part of it. So I think like if he's bringing somebody to the table, then, the grandmother's going to be kind. But I also feel like knowing what we know about the family and what we've learned about their culture and the way that they behave to outsiders, I think that there's a lot of formality and politeness. You're not going to be, because even when Eleanor like gets more and more nasty throughout the movie, it's always very polite.
Mhm.
The words are biting, but she's always
Right. If you were
on.
watching from the outside, you
Yeah,
would
it
have no
looks very
idea.
polite. Yeah, and so I think the grandmother is like, she knows she knows that she has what everybody wants, and she knows that Nick is the prize, and I think she's gonna operate with the utmost respect and formality. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Well, the
I
next
also
day, Oh, go ahead. Nope,
I
I
was
was
just
just
gonna
gonna tag
say,
us along. Go ahead.
no, I noticed real quick that everybody kept referring to Rachel as his like he
His
introduced her
good
to the
friend.
grandmother as a friend. Yeah, and then there was another reference to her being a friend, and I was like, what is the deal with that?
That could also be a respect thing. Maybe there's a certain way to introduce
Yeah,
a partner
yeah,
to your family.
yeah. Now we're going to the bachelor slash bachelorette departure thing.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah, the bachelor party. Like I was like, first of all, is that a thing that happens? Like, do people really have like ghost container ships that appear to be container ships in international waters?
That was incredible.
Yeah, I really wonder if that's real.
We're not rich enough to know if that's real.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I have no idea. Anyway, bachelor party is insane.
Right. We
Nick and
see
his
all the
best.
bachelorettes. Yeah.
Well, so the bachelor party, the two parties go to the same like airport hangar to depart from. There's all these gaudy cars and
Yeah.
private jets and all this stuff, right? And before they leave, Rachel seems to be welcomed with open arms, and she meets, is it Amanda, the lawyer?
Amanda, yeah. And
Yeah, so
Amanda's so nice.
she's
At
so kind.
first,
Yes, she's so kind. And Rachel seems like she's going to be okay. And the boys, they leave, the ladies leave.
They leave on a helicopter.
Yep,
by
the dudes
way.
go
They
on a
leave on like
helicopter.
4 different helicopters. Insane.
which I would be too afraid. That would freak me out, being in a helicopter over the ocean. Like,
But that would be the trip for me, just the helicopter
You're
ride.
like, wow, this is amazing. Bachelor
Take me
party.
back.
So the dudes end up approaching a container ship that in the middle of all of these containers is actually this crazy bachelor party scene. Meanwhile, the women are going to,
Indonesia, a private island.
yes, a private island where they'll be going to the bride's mother's resort that is cleared out for them. And yes, two very different scenes. The women get on the island and immediately they're given a like 1 minute to buy, like grab everything from the store that they want for free.
Mm-hmm.
Where they have a great quote where she says, "Nobody loves free stuff more than rich people."
That is a great quote. Mm-hmm.
Amanda's being very nice. Rachel only grabs one outfit, and Amanda like puts a nice necklace on her and compliments her and says how lucky Nick is, and a lot of commentary on whether or not people look good enough for everybody in this movie. But just as an aside, meanwhile, the men, all of the cousins are taking extreme advantage of being on international waters and having, it looks like they have like a woman from every country.
Oh, is that what that was?
I wondered if it was some sort of Miss Universe or something like that they just paid to show up.
Yeah, they all have sashes with different country names, and all the cousins have like 2 women on each arm, and you know they're definitely going to cheat on their girlfriends and wives and whatnot.
The whole thing is just a disgusting display of like no limits on the male imagination, honestly. Like,
but Nick and his buddy are not into, and somebody tries to make fun of Rachel, and Nick is like ready to fucking pound him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the two of them,
thankfully, him and his buddy get out. They're like, we got to get out of here.
Yeah, they get on they take one.
Let's get on our helicopter and go to our own island.
Yeah.
Which was so cute though, because his buddy says, if I wasn't already engaged, I'd ask you to marry me. Because he took such good care of him. Yeah.
That was so cute. Also, one of them flew the helicopter. It was like a passing comment, like, thank goodness for those flying lessons or something like that, explaining how they were able to take it away.
Huh.
Yeah, I think Nick flew. I think that's part of it. He flew, and then he had really nice cold beer, and that's why his buddy was like, I'd ask you to marry me, which it was really cute.
That whole scene, I really like that whole scene. Not only was it beautiful, but it's a real friendship.
Yes.
They talked about tough things. They talked about Rachel, why Rachel might not be right, why it might be tough. You know, it was
like,
what a best friend should do. Very respectful.
Yeah, in a way,
compassionate for her.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. In a way that was compassionate towards her, not like, oh, she's not going to cut it. It was more like, is she going to be okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a solid dude.
Yeah, really, really nice little bromance there.
Meanwhile, back on the resort island, everything seems to be going well. And then there's a massage, and Rachel and Amanda are side by side on their respective tables, and Amanda just starts like revealing. She takes the mask off, right? She starts saying like, oh, did he say you find out that they used to date, and you never know what's going on in Nick's mind, and just like all the ways in which Rachel is just, go ahead, Whitney.
Well, and also you see my mouth just
Yeah.
staying in that spot.
Yes. I didn't want it to get stuck that way. So,
Thank you. No, I don't even remember.
oh my God. Were you going to talk about how mean Amanda is?
Amanda was like building Rachel up for Rachel to believe, yes, 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 this is the right thing for me. And then when Amanda, then yeah, it's like she took the mask off. And when she did that, she also mentioned how I think the mom wanted Nick to marry Amanda.
Yes.
Eleanor wanted Nick to marry Amanda. And that's what I think was the most hurtful thing she said, was because Eleanor's already showed so much dislike, not even dislike. I don't even think she accepts
It's like
her as
disdain.
a person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
disdain
Yeah.
is a better word. I think that was completely calculated on Amanda's part, you know.
Well, it
Like,
was. And she also blamed her for, she implied that it was understood that it is Rachel's fault that he didn't come home. She's like stopping him from fulfilling his destiny, and like, people are going to think things about you, and they're probably true. And then yeah, and then Rachel is so upset she gets up and she goes to go back to her room, and Amanda pulls out her phone and says she's on the move, like like basically it's all
It was
going
all a
according to plan. So
Ugh.
that then poor Rachel gets back to her room, and there's a fish carcass in her bed with like serial killer writing, as she puts it later, in blood, that says,
wait, did that happen before her and Astrid connected on the beach?
oh, she did see Astrid. She saw Astrid. Astrid comes in with her
Yeah, I think
Right.
because they're
before
just going to
It
go.
says, "Oh, catch this, you gold digging bitch."
yeah. But before that, she finds the dead fish. Her and Astrid connected on the beach,
Right,
like
because
because
Astrid showed up late.
Astrid's like her only real friend for sure. And
Well, because Astrid isn't friends with any of them. She
No.
showed
yeah,
up late just to she just kind of wandered in. And
right.
I probably out feeling obligated to. But yeah, I don't, do we even see her talk to any of these girls?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And they had a nice moment on the beach too where Astrid let Rachel know like that Michael's cheating on her, and yeah, they just have like a really nice little connection
Right.
moment
They
there.
decided to keep the fish incident to themselves to
Yep, they
not
were
give
going to
them the
call
time of
security.
day.
Yep.
hmm
Yep,
Hmm.
decided not to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they buried the fish together, and then yeah, had a nice private moment. This is they're so good. They
Hmm.
just formed such a quick, fast relationship because they both are experiencing trauma at the same time.
Hmm.
And they
Well,
did
and they're
such a
both,
good job in the movie to put them together. It's
This
yeah.
is where I get annoyed at the bride, though, right? Because so this thing happened, and yeah, they're not calling security, they're not drawing attention to it. I don't think that the bride was involved in this plan, because she seemed to genuinely like Rachel, and she seems
Mhm.
to genuinely like Nick, right? And care about them. But they're burying a dead fish a stone's throw from where the dancing is happening. Like, is
Right?
nobody noticed that?
Yeah.
What, you know what I mean? Like, wouldn't you probably stumble over and be like, what are you like doing, like, come
Or
party,
like, ha ha ha, you're burying that fish we put in your bed, or
Right.
something,
like literally anybody.
something.
Yeah, like those in on it or those not in on it, just nobody. Again, it's just these like blinders of like,
And because also, is it Alistair? Is that, what is her name? I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Astrid. That's why.
Oh,
The
wait.
sister Astrid. I'm sorry.
Wait.
cousin. Yes,
His cousin that he grew up with. It's not.
Astrid's his cousin.
I thought it was his sister too.
That's not
It's
his
not.
sister.
No, it's his cousin. The
That
moms are
okay. So
sisters.
at the very beginning, when they walk into that hotel, it's the sisters, and then it's a child for each sister.
Yes,
Yeah. Yep. I had to have that realization too later in the
we
movie,
hit
Lauren.
pause and I broke it
Yeah.
down at the time.
What
Yeah.
I was going to say, not sure it matters so much, was I'm surprised because I thought it was Nick's sister. I was surprised at how little the girls paid attention to Astrid. I thought Astrid might be more important, that they would want her attention. But I didn't get that in any part of the movie. I would think all of the girls would want Astrid's attention.
Yeah, but you know what? Maybe at this point in time in their lives, maybe Astrid has removed herself enough that they know she's just not participating,
Well, and I think so again, Nick is the favorite. He's the one that's set to inherit everything, plus like he is the one on the market.
Mhm. And he's the one that inherits everything.
Right. So he's the prize.
Right.
Mm.
Okay. But she has all the money too. I mean, it's the same money, is it not? It's the
Yeah, but
family
I think
money.
all these people have money,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
That's why they're all there. They're all participating because that's like the social obligation. So I think I mean,
Yeah.
I think she's like probably it seems like their family has the most, but I don't know that her friendship is required because
We don't understand how these things work, guys. Um, um, but
someday we'll listen
so
back to this episode and laugh.
yeah, maybe. I mean, I'll definitely laugh when I listen to the episode, but not for that reason.
Yeah.
Um,
um, well, the night ends, and we do get a scene with Nick and Rachel the next morning.
yeah.
Rachel explaining how the night went. This is probably one of the only parts of the movie where I wanted to yell at Nick because of the way he responded to the fish being in the bed.
He's like, "Is that it? Tell me that's it." It's like, that's really bad.
That was
Like,
really bad.
Mhm.
Somebody went out of their way to gut a fish
Hmm.
into my bed
Hmm.
yeah. Like that is like the meanest fucking thing that I could possibly even think of. I couldn't even think of something meaner than that.
without like actually physically touching somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I
uh,
didn't care for that. I didn't think he cared enough. For a person who has cared about her and her feelings this whole time, he did not care enough at this moment
but it's
about what
again,
she was going through.
I think it is him just brushing past the toxic shit because that's what he's conditioned to do. And I
Mm-hmm.
think this is the most extreme example of that. And probably the most alarming to her too. Like, oh, are you just gonna be like this with me too?
Yeah, because when he repeats himself, it's because he catches himself for minimizing it. He says, "Is that it?" I'm sorry. I mean, I hope that's it.
But it's
He
still bad.
changes, right? But
Yeah.
right, like, yeah, he changes the intention of what he's saying. But yeah, that's not good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like at that point, if he said that to me, like, is that it? Or I hope that's it, I'd be like, okay, you can go ahead and fucking schedule my flight back to New York City right now.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
she does directly address everything, but she also does kind of move past it a little bit too when he does. But I feel like what we're supposed to start seeing about Rachel at this point is that she, just like in the beginning in the foreshadowing, that she's gonna play the game,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And I feel like maybe that's part of her calculus here
Mm-hmm.
that we're
Yeah,
not quite seeing.
she's not going to let these women change how she feels about him. And that probably gets really murky when he doesn't necessarily react the way that you want him to, because it's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to let them win, but I don't like that. But if I pursue that too much, then are they winning? You know what I mean? Like, I think it probably gets really complicated.
Yeah, I think she started her calculus early,
Hmm.
earlier than we know as
Yeah.
Well, I
watchers.
mean, she says, as Whitney pointed out, when the fish is in the bed, she's like, I'm not going to give them the satisfaction.
Right.
Right. Ugh. Yeah.
They have to go make dumplings.
Yep.
Yes.
Time to make dumplings as a family. I thought
Which
this
I
was
thought,
great. I would love to sit down as a family and make dumplings.
yeah, there's nothing stopping you guys. You guys can do that.
Ah, okay.
No? You don't think your kids would want to make dumplings?
Absolutely not.
Oh my God.
No.
Okay.
But
All
I
right.
love this.
Well, one day, Whitney, when we finally get to see you again, we'll make
Okay.
dumplings
We'll
with
arrange
you.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, more great food. I did think though, what's funny is like my naivete, however the fuck you say that, my naiveness,
Naivete. Naivete?
naivete, thank you.
No,
Yeah,
that doesn't
that
sound right.
no, I think no, that's naivete.
How did
I
you
don't
That
say
think
it,
I've
Jenna?
ever said it before
Naive.
in my life.
naivety. That's what I said.
Naivete.
I think that's
Um,
the scene they put up at Christmas, right?
yeah, yes. I had a moment at this dumpling scene because I was like, ooh, this is what makes me somebody that can easily be victimized by mean older women because I was genuinely upset when I realized that it wasn't the grandmother sitting down and teaching them how to make dumplings. Because she said that she would do that with Rachel.
Mhm.
And then when I get to the scene and it's like the whole family at this big table and it's not the grandmother having a meaningful moment with them.
Oh, you craved like a one-on-one.
Yeah, I thought that they were going to have a special moment with the grandmother. And
Okay.
then I felt a little let down actually when like, it's nice that they sat down as a family. Like, I'm not saying that's not nice or whatever, but like, I naively was like, I thought that that was going to be a nice thing they did with the grandmother, but that is
Got
not.
future faked a little.
I got a little future faked by the movie. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of point that out that I had a bit of a moment there. But that being said, obviously it was one of the only times in the movie where we actually see more of like his immediate family
Mhm.
together, you know?
And we do see the grandmother does come in after we make
I know.
dumplings
But
because
she's
she
not teaching
comment.
anyone how to make dumplings, you know?
No, she's not. But this is also, it's giving me the wrong impression because she comes in and you can see it in Eleanor's face as well, the surprise at how the grandmother acts when she grabs Rachel's face and she tells her she has a lucky nose.
Hmm.
It still is giving up the wrong impression.
But then I'm like, at this point, right? In hindsight, I'm like, is she just doing that to snub Eleanor now? Is
Right,
she
because
really
it
being,
was.
yeah,
Eleanor
like,
was very affected by the way Amma
yeah,
was
she's
Well,
not
treating
did
being,
Rachel.
you catch what she said when she sat down?
No.
So the grandmother sits down and she looks at the dumplings and she criticizes Eleanor's dumplings and she says, "Oh, that's yours? You've really lost your touch."
yeah,
I missed that.
Yeah, but in like a very nice tone.
yeah. I caught it. I caught it because it was the first moment that I was like, ooh, maybe I should be feeling a little bad for Eleanor.
Mhm.
Well, again,
Um,
right? So the movie opens and you feel bad for her, and then you're happy that she got something figured out. And then she's like kind of mean in the kitchen, and then you're like, this feels a little complicated. And then here you feel bad for her, and then like very quickly you don't again.
Yeah, they definitely give you like the ingredients to feel empathy towards her and to find some sort of understanding, but then they come back even harder at how she acts
hmm
towards
No,
Rachel.
that's a good way of putting it. Every time you get one of those ingredients, yeah, the hammer comes down even harder.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And that is what happens in this next scene where, Rachel like comments on the ring, which brings some stuff up for Eleanor. And then
Mm-hmm.
then Eleanor finds her in the hallway and she thinks she's gonna have this nice heart to heart. Like Eleanor's
Right.
finally just gonna come clean and be like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm actually treated really poorly, and that's why I'm doing that to you, and whatever, right? And then it's like,
Yeah.
nope.
But then, but I felt this scene because they were in a stairwell type
Hmm.
situation. You know, they were kind of in the middle where you go up the steps and then you can go up even further left or right. And Eleanor, when she was talking to her, she walked towards Rachel and actually backed her down the steps. And I felt like
Hmm.
that was such an intimidating move.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that was after she did explain that she was treated so horribly. Her husband had to have a ring made because the Amma didn't think that she deserved to have the family ring.
Hmm.
hmm
But then, yeah, the physical intimidation I could feel. Like,
Mm,
Well, and she sets it up too. She says, "I have been unfair to you because what I should tell you is you will never be enough." I was like, "Ooh, damn."
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I felt that one.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah, so we have this very complicated dynamic here, that is pretty
Well, and
realistic.
I imagine Rachel is closer to giving up. That one more step closer to giving up and
hmm
questioning if it's actually worth it.
hmm
When
But
she
she has to go
does,
there. Yeah.
she goes
hmm
to her friend's house and
Mm-hmm.
they're sitting on the side of the road and she gets the pep talk that this is what she does though. Like she's a badass econ professor. She teaches
Mm-hmm.
game theory. Like you need to like step up,
Oh yeah.
and play chicken. And there's like that whole talk, which
Well,
is
yeah, this is
pretty
where
good.
what Pikeland is like so clutch in this scene. Like she's such a cool friend in this scene because
Mm-hmm.
she's just like she's just like, fuck that, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like get in there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like I just thought that was like kind of cool.
Well, and it brought it back around to the very beginning of the movie where we learned that she is like when she was teaching game theory. Like
Yeah.
it all circles back to itself, which is really cool.
Yeah. Pikelin's cool because she's like recognizes her friend's strengths and
Mm-hmm.
really like encourages her to lean into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we get a nice montage of Rachel trying on dresses
Yeah.
in Pikeland's family. And then we have, I guess, kind of like a red carpet to this wedding. Because what we're doing, we've been picking out the wedding outfit. and there's like a red carpet event, and
Yep.
and Constance Wu. It is Constance Wu, but Rachel looks great. It reminds me of, do you remember who was the woman that wore like a swan dress to the Oscars?
I don't know things like this.
Come on. It's okay. I'll get it. York. York wore that swan dress to the Oscars,
Mm.
and it reminded me a lot of that.
She
But,
just like in that, like, she shows up and she's gorgeous and it's like a little like, whoa, like it's like eye catching.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Rachel walks down the thing, I want to say
The
runway,
carpet,
and
I
that's not
guess.
the carpet. Yeah. And she's like turning heads, and then she walks up to Amanda and says, "Amanda, you're in my way." And I was like, right. So she's making all these people feel like affronted. She goes inside. I kind of missed like what the chatter was, but there was some comment about the woman that was sitting alone in
The
an aisle.
princess.
That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
princess?
Yes.
She's a princess
Okay.
and
and
no one
she
is good enough to sit with her.
and she didn't want to be bothered. Like
Right. She reserved an entire pew.
Right,
Row.
right. And Rachel sees Eleanor, and Eleanor says, "Our pew is full." And the one aunt, the nicer aunt, gives her a compliment at the end.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then, not knowing that she shouldn't approach this person, Rachel goes up to the princess and then comments on her economics paper, and they end up having like a really nice conversation. So she's like, her naivete is allowing her to go up and engage with a person of status
I
about
actually
a topic that's important.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is actually such a in your face, like in your face to Eleanor,
Yes.
because Eleanor is like, oh, she's untouchable, but Rachel, a person who has pursued a passion of hers, actually has something to relate to that princess with.
Right. Has substance to her.
Yes, yeah, and the princess doesn't want to be bothered because I get the feeling that she just doesn't want to be bothered with all the superficial nonsense, but this girl coming up to her with something real to say, she's into it, you know? Yeah.
And you
so-
can tell that Eleanor's row, as soon as Rachel went up to the princess, they're like, watch this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
when that happened, it was great. What a slap in the face to the aunties.
Yep.
yeah, it was awesome.
And then Nick and his buddy spy her sitting there, and his buddy says, "I think you got to fight her,"
Yeah.
which I have complicated feelings about.
Uh-huh.
Me too.
Same.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you need
What-
to have your partner fight. Like, why is she in that
Right.
position?
And
are
why
you
is
doing
she the only
nothing?
one fighting?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, why
that's-
is this? Why is this turned into some kind of gauntlet of like whether or not she's a suitable partner?
No, but and also Whitney, I think what you just said there is so poignant. Like, why is she the only one fighting?
She's the only one doing anything.
Yeah.
Even like reacting to anything happening. He
Yeah.
is like he
He's so
he reminds
passive.
me of the Meg Ryan. He doesn't have a business plan.
The Meg
And-
Ryan.
Right. He doesn't
I
have a
mean,
business
nothing
plan.
is phasing him. He's like, he's
Mhm.
almost just happy go lucky. Oh, it's all going to work out. I'm rich. It works out for me.
Yeah, I'm rich and I'm in love. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
like it definitely showed like like he's spoiled. You know what I mean? Like, not in the way that like I wouldn't call him a brat per se. Like, I don't think that's the word that I would use for him, but he definitely is spoiled in that he doesn't think anything really will touch him.
I feel like he might have not faced challenges growing up, but he didn't realize it was so easy because he doesn't
Mhm.
seem like he doesn't seem like he doesn't work hard or anything.
Right.
I'm not sure what he does, but we don't get that he's lazy or
No.
undeserving or anything like that.
Yeah,
But
no.
I do have a feeling that his life was easy and he doesn't recognize how easy it was.
Exactly. Yeah. We have also this scene where Amma attends with Astrid, where again this lady's like kind of complicated this Amma character, like she's not, she didn't leave her granddaughter hanging. I was so happy in that moment to see Astrid being taken care of in that way
Yes,
by Amma.
because on the way to the wedding, Astrid commented to her husband. Her husband is saying, I have to leave town tomorrow. It's their
Right.
son's birthday. Astrid's like, she's had enough. And she finally says, I know you're having an affair. So
and then he just like gaslights the fucking shit out of
Yes.
her.
Yeah, because she says, let's just get through this and then we'll figure it out, like get through the wedding. And he was like, right, it's always about appearances, right? But it's like, well, Or you could like the literal least you could do is just get through the wedding with her. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
a
But
jerk and
instead, he's just
yes,
like, oh, here's all the reasons why you're making this bad
Right.
and you're making this worse and you don't care. And she cares so much, which is like so clear the whole time. And
right.
then he really makes her cry.
Yep.
And that actress did such a good job showing that despair in that
Mhm.
moment. I was so devastated,
And
you
she
know.
didn't cry until he left the car.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And he saw himself out, which is like, yeah, see you later, you know, like but then he kind of just leaves her high and dry, you know,
Hmm.
and it was so nice to see the Ama show up with her, you know.
Yeah, the Ama walking her down the aisle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
again, I thought she was good. I thought she was like, oh, maybe like this old lady is like good. And we never, his father is not in the movie the entire time. Nick's father, he doesn't,
Hmm.
Hmm.
he's like on a business trip and he doesn't come back. And I kept expecting him to, and I kept expecting him to be like the cause of a lot of these problems,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and maybe like the grandmother is actually like nice, but
See, I got the idea from them saying that he's at work, like that was his job. That was his job, was to be out
Hmm.
running everything, and that their job was to be home taking care of everything. Like they expected him to be gone all the time
Hmm.
because that's who that's I
sure.
don't know who he was expected to be. I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
So that being said, I didn't expect to see him at all. I didn't even give him a thought except for when they would say, "Oh, he's on a trip." I didn't even think about him.
I didn't think about him either, Lauren. I had completely forgotten about him, you know.
Hmm.
But I did think that Ama was going to be the you know, the savior here in a bigger way. Not, I mean, she was Astrid's savior in this scene, but I mean, like overall, like I thought she
Mm-hmm.
was gonna, you know, help a little more.
And we aren't going to go over the details, but the way that the wedding unfolds, like the small touches that the wedding had, I
It
mean,
was
it's really
insane.
it's insane. I mean,
Yeah.
how much they said it cost $40 million this wedding. Do you remember that? Do you hear that?
No, I didn't
Um,
catch that.
but
My
when
brain
you
doesn't calculate, doesn't hear numbers that high. In
Yeah.
fact, I'm just assuming you said a number right now because I couldn't hear it. It just went, yeah,
That
enough
was like,
money to flood the aisle and allow the bride to walk down a path
yeah.
like a stream.
And
What?
from a practical standpoint, I just feel like, do you really want not now the bottom of your gown is wet for the
Oh
whole
my
ceremony?
gosh. Oh my gosh. And then did you think about, okay, were there like walls on the side of the aisle keeping the water? And I had to know like
Yeah.
how it was fundamentally working.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, the wedding, like, yeah, we don't have to get into all the details, but it
It's
was like
big, it's beautiful,
it
it's
was
expensive.
unreal.
It's a little eye rolly how Nick and Rachel keep making eyes at each other and
Hmm.
smiling. But it's good that Eleanor sees them still in love with each other, even though she's been a hell of a demon this whole time.
Yeah,
And
and chooses the wedding to dump like this, you know.
yeah. But I mean, then we get to the after party, which is so much fun. The music's great, the dancing's great. It's well, 40 million bucks.
Well, it starts off as fun, but I feel like they actually subtly kind of showed us how quickly it started going downhill, the behavior of the people though, right? Like they kind of like showed that a little bit that like it's fun, it's fun, it's fun, but then you know, people started acting bad, you know, like that bad behavior, that entitled bad behavior.
Manipulating. They started manipulating the party because one couple got broken up. You remember?
Yep.
It showed how much control the family feels like they have to have, I think,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
and how much they do have because it worked. It was a it
Yeah.
worked immediately.
Right.
But that yeah, that's when we get taken. Is Rachel taken alone or is Nick with her?
Nick's with her.
Yeah, that person comes up and says that the grandmother would like to see the two of them. And
Right. And
you're,
we're like, awesome, she's gonna get the ring. That's what I
Yeah.
was like,
yes.
she's gonna get the ring. Everything's gonna be great. Movie is over.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
I
Nope.
not.
Nope, not at all. Eleanor sabotages the shit out of them by she hired a private investigator to find out that, you know, Rachel, again, which like for normal people comes from like what?
Yeah.
Divorced parents? Like, who cares?
Rachel is the product of an affair that the mom had because
Yeah.
of an abusive relationship that she fled.
Well, we didn't know
Hmm.
it was abusive yet in this scene. We
Right.
do find that out later, but
That it
like,
was an affair.
yeah, but she's the product of an affair. And, you know, of course, like Ama, you know, is just like now here's where we find out where Ama's short shortcomings are, is that she's like, oh, this isn't going to look good for our family,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and like
I will never
Eleanor
give you my
knew.
approval. And
Yeah, Eleanor knew exactly what she was doing. And again, like, it's just like, this is why I would never want to be in this world, because who fucking cares,
well, it's so
Like,
sad because Rachel doesn't know that information. So like
yeah,
she
Rachel
doesn't
didn't
know.
even know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she thought that her father had died.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
well,
yeah.
and finding out that he was a good man too is good, and that he's still alive. Yeah, but I mean, obviously, Rachel is devastated because one, what she knew wasn't real, so it's not like she can argue the fact with Eleanor and
Yeah,
Ama.
it was double
Um,
mean.
yeah,
And it's at the wedding.
and at the wedding,
Well, and this
Like,
is like the thing. It's always Eleanor always goes in for the kill at public venues so that Rachel can't react.
right, so she can't have an outburst.
I mean, this is what mean older women do. Like, like, I'm sorry. Like, this is not my first time seeing that. So, anyway, yeah, go in
All
for
the
the kill.
noises that just came out.
I know, I know.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Go in for the kill at a public party where the person's caught off guard and they can't have their proper reaction. It's just manipulative as
Yeah.
fuck.
Well,
Hmm.
unsurprisingly, Rachel is caught off guard and basically stumbles out of the party.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and like
It's so
she's
sad.
it's
Yeah.
sad she can't find her way out, and also everybody's making mean comments to her because they're just mean people. Like the one cousin's like, "What's wrong, Cinderella? Gotta return your
Right.
shoes before midnight or whatever."
I know. It just everybody's just ugliness,
Right.
comes
And
out.
Nick is chasing her, but not aggressive enough, in my
It took
opinion.
too long to go. Like as
Yeah.
Yeah.
soon as she turned on her heel to storm out of there, he should have been like running after her.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But I think he is a little caught off guard as well. Like you know what I
Well,
mean? Like
and
this was
then
meant
like,
to be abusive towards him too.
Well,
well, controlling.
it's the first time that it's really been towards him as well though, right? Like because every other time it's been pulling Rachel aside to criticize her alone, and this is the first time that it's all happening in front of him and it's real. It's not the idea of a dead fish, it's the dead fish.
Hmm. And what I really don't like is when he was going to get out of the party, Amanda, that bitch from
Yeah.
earlier, she
Mhm.
Yep.
goes and grabs his face and is like all loving, and all he does is push her hands down and keep going, which great. That's a good reaction. But also, what a good time to yell at her for what she's done.
He says not now. It's not no, never. It's
I
not
know.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Sorry. He
definitely.
disappointed me the second half of the movie.
Yeah. 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 He's got a lot of major blind spots.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, Rachel can go back to Pike Lynn's house.
Mhm.
I'm so happy for her that she has that landing
Yes.
pad.
Yeah. And
Like, what a relief. Because she is like, we have to keep in mind, she is in a different country on the other side of the world.
never
Like,
been there
Yep.
before.
yeah, she, like that's, whew, I cannot understate how that must feel, like,
Mhm.
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm. And I mean, clearly she was distressed. She's not answering phone calls. She's not eating her food. She's just laying in bed. I mean, which she has every right to do.
absolutely. Pretty accurate
Mhm.
depiction of that type of depression, like,
Hmm.
and her, and,
Hmm.
her friends, family, as cringy as they are, they really allow her to have the space that she needs.
Yes.
And, like, they're very good to her in these
Yeah.
next couple.
And then Pike Lynn comes in and says someone's here to see you. And I think we all assume it's Nick because he's been leaving her messages.
Yeah,
And it's her mom.
I know. I
And we
know.
all just kind of melted a little because we wanted her to have her money.
I know. I love that it was her mom. What I loved about that scene too was like her daughter was just like so depressed, and the mom was like, you are like a strong, like a resilient person, and you will get through this. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, isn't that just what everybody wants from their
Hmm.
mom?
Hmm.
You know?
Mhm.
Yeah, so that was
And
nice.
we also got the story of who her mom was married to, that he was abusive. I think who she had an affair with was a work colleague that she was
Hmm.
working on a project with or something. And then when she got pregnant to save their lives, she fled to America. And that's why they were in America.
And I do feel like in this scene, Rachel was extremely compassionate and empathetic towards her mother because she has been kept in the dark. You know, she has a father that she thought was dead. And
It seems like it was, did it, am I making this up? Did it seem like it was for Rachel's safety?
I think
It
it
was
was
for
like, I
all of their
think,
safety. Yeah.
well, yeah, I think the mother's intentions were very good, but I still can't help but feel like if I was Rachel, I would be a little angry. You know what I mean? Like, but you know, Rachel is more mature than me.
Well,
So,
and it does show the strong connection between her mom and herself. Because I think
yeah,
there's a lot of trust there. Yes, she didn't
Mhm.
tell her, but it's not like she hasn't been honest about her life. It's
yeah,
just the one detail. I don't
Yeah,
know.
she gives her the benefit of the doubt that there would be a good reason. She's not going
Yeah.
to get mad until she knows the truth.
Right. She knows who her
Yeah.
mom is. She's not
Yeah.
yeah,
manipulative and controlling. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then we also find out at the end, the mother waits until the end to just say, by the way, Nick flew me out here.
Yeah, you
You
should see
know,
him before we go.
yeah.
And then bro does not know how to read a fucking room
Who?
because he
The brother?
Brother.
proposes.
The
Oh, well,
brother's
that's
recording the
oh,
whole interaction.
I'm saying bro like Nick, but yeah.
oh, I was gonna say Pikelin's brother has been doing that the whole movie. We didn't even bring
No,
him
no,
up.
no.
He's
Oh,
just like a that's
He's some
supposed to be like a
comic
little
relief.
comic
Yeah.
what do
relief.
you
Yeah.
mean about Nick?
I mean, so she goes to see Nick. They meet at some like outdoor park or whatever, and he proposes.
Yeah.
Yes, but she does go meet Eleanor first.
No,
No. After.
after. He proposes outside and we don't know the choice that she makes.
Right.
He
Yeah.
brings the ring out and proposes, and I'm just like, dude, like
Yeah.
you haven't talked for days. She's like, she just got ripped apart by your family. You're
Yeah,
not
she's
even really like.
devastated.
He apologizes, and then he pulls a ring out, and then she like smiles, and then you don't know what she did. Then she goes to the mahjong room,
Hmm.
and she sits down, and Eleanor comes in, sees her, and sits down. And there's these two kind women at the table with them. So they start playing, and now, I mean, like, you know something's up because now we have the call back to playing poker,
Exactly.
right? And so they start playing, and I'm curious to know how to play this game because
Yeah, me too.
No idea. It's
Yeah.
not the same as on the computer.
no, it's not. That's all I was thinking. I was like, on the computer, there's a stack of things, and you click them, and you make them
They
disappear.
disappear.
Yes, this is a different game. But anyway, but yeah, and so they start talking, and there's some going back and forth, but ultimately Eleanor thinks she's won, right? Like Rachel's sitting there, she keeps picking up this one piece, she's moving it over. What I think in hindsight is that we're supposed to see that she actually has a lot of things set up. She takes her piece and then she puts it down. Eleanor waves away one of the other women and picks up the piece and like shows that she has all of the patterns that she needs. This is all during the conversation, but I just can't give the conversation and explain this at the same time. At the end, though, the mic drop moment is Rachel turns her tiles over and we see that she really won.
Right. I feel like laying down that one piece of tile that you see her contemplating laying down.
Yeah.
I feel like when she lays that down, she is setting up Eleanor
Yes, to think she
for
won.
what, yes, to think she won. Like that's the key. That's the key move. And the conversation is, I mean, I feel like Rachel leads the conversation.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, to sum it up, it
She does.
is I chose not to marry your son when he asked to
Which,
give
by the way,
you
he
this
asked.
future life. Yes, by the way,
Yes.
he asked
Yeah, I
to
loved
give you this future life. So when
Right.
you have this life, you think of me.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to say goodbye to him again, too, which is like kind of a dig, but also
Mhm.
kind of empathetic because I don't think we mentioned it, but the mother, Eleanor, had decided to let the grandmother raise her son because she knew that her son would be favored if she did that. And Eleanor knew that like the grandmother would never really actually like her. So she like basically gave up her son for his upbringing
Mhm.
in exchange for his future. And so now Rachel is giving up, she's allowing Eleanor to have her son and not
Mhm.
lose him for a second time.
Well, and I thought the nice dig in there was Rachel knew that when Nick marries someone else and has kids, that he would resent the life Eleanor took away from him by removing Rachel. And
Mhm.
that resentment would last a lot longer and make Eleanor a lot more unhappy in the long run.
Right.
Yeah. This
Right.
was like
It was very smart.
Yeah, this was so fucking clever.
Uh-huh.
Like like yeah, you just like you really get a sense of like wow, Rachel is she's brilliant, but she's brilliant at the game of life, you
Mhm.
know? Like she did win. She no matter what happens after this scene is actually irrelevant. It's not it's relevant for the rom-com of it all, but what happens after this scene is irrelevant as far as like her playing the game and who's going to win between Rachel and the mom. Like Rachel wins. And I love that Rachel wins without us even knowing if they get together or not. I love that. Like it, you know, it's not even about like, oh, but in the end, you know, they married each other and that's the win. No, the win is that, you know, like Rachel wins before that. And I love
Mhm.
that.
She does the thing where instead of playing not to lose, she actually sort of just like decides that she's going to walk away. Like she,
Yes.
Mhm.
you know, like she wins by losing actually, because she doesn't get the thing that she wants, because it's even if she got the thing that she wanted, she would have ripped her husband, her soon, you know, future husband
Right.
away from his mother. Right? Like there is no winning in that scenario. So she won by losing.
Yeah.
I love the lack of drama in the scene because all I wanted was, Rachel is talking to Eleanor and explains, I, she wins basically because Nick's going to resent her the rest of her life. And then revealing that she actually won and then just getting up and walking away. I wanted Rachel's mom, who, if looks could kill, Eleanor would be dead.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I just wanted her mom to give her the finger so bad, or something. I wanted someone to make a scene,
Yeah, but I mean,
but
I
I
do
also
feel like
respect that nobody did. That it
the
was just
scene,
looks, and her mom won.
Yeah.
the scene was made in the way that it had to be made with that woman.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. And also, Nick didn't choose you. I chose you for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I also chose my own mom, right? So it's all these
Yeah, because
ways that like,
it
Mm-hmm.
adds to it when she walks out with her mother. You're like,
hmm
oh, like you know,
Mm-hmm.
like she just like she won on every level. Like it was so good. And yeah, that look that her mother gave Eleanor was priceless. Like
Cutting, very cutting. And then we're taken to a scene with Astrid and her soon to
mm,
not be husband.
hmm
It was very powerful,
it was so
everything that
good.
Astrid had to
oh,
say.
It
I
was
don't
she
so
think that
good.
she could have done it any better. Can you guys describe it?
Yeah. So her husband is packing his bags, and he he's such a brat. He's like, I would like to see, I'll come back for my things, or I'll send for my things later, and we can discuss when I'll be seeing my son. And Astrid, like something inside her snaps, because she's like, you'll see him when it's good for him. And
not when it's good for you.
and you don't, you actually don't need to leave. You bought this apartment, we'll leave. And he goes, where will you go? And she goes, I own 11 buildings around this city. I'll go to one of those.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, like now she's like going for
She's
it.
got it. Yeah.
And he just looks dumbstruck, because I mean, what's so good about this is the thing that he always resented, and she didn't throw in his face, and now she is.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of showing him like, you know, in
Yes.
a way, like I could have, not that she would have, now that he's
Yes.
fucking wronged her, she's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, here you go. Here's a little bit of that.
Yep. And then she like he says it's not all my fault that this fell apart, right? Because he just still needs her to feel terrible. And she
Mm-hmm.
says, I know. And like I didn't need to hide all of this stuff. And then this is my favorite quote of the movie. It was never my job to make you feel like a man. I can't make you something you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Pew, pew,
Yeah.
That
pew, pew.
wow,
Yeah.
whoa. And then like he like says nothing. She leaves, she goes to the bathroom, she reaches up and she gets those earrings that she
Earrings.
bought at the beginning, and she puts them on.
She's so fucking cool.
It Astrid.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
man. She's so fucking cool. And I feel like that scene, I'm so glad that millions and millions and millions of people watched this
Mm-hmm.
movie after having watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you haven't watched Barbie yet, have you? This was a precursor to Barbie.
We were
I
supposed to watch it after last time, and we did not.
I
That's
know.
okay.
We will. We will.
The Bills are
I
on
know.
today, so I can't make any
Yeah,
promises.
we
but
have a football game coming up here, so that's Barbie's
It's okay.
gonna
Taylor
have to
Swift
wait.
in Buffalo, you know.
It's
Yes, the best show of the day.
Taylor
Yep.
Swift versus Buffalo.
Taylor. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Who will come out on top?
Anyway, back to the movie. So then from here, after Astrid's awesome mic drop moment, we are taken to the coach class of the airplane, and Rachel and her mom are about to fly home. And I thought it was so funny because it's just all these just sweaty, gross people, you know, like
Mhm.
and Nick comes onto the plane and he starts yelling to her, and she says, you know, like, just not, no, dude, you know.
Yeah,
And
don't make
Right,
this
give
harder
up.
than it needs
Give it
to
up.
be.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
And so and oh, right before that though, we did see Eleanor go to his hotel room. Eleanor
Yeah,
walked
him and
into his
Ellen,
hotel room.
yes, they don't say anything. Again, this movie, show don't tell. Like, I love it. Like, they have a moment. We don't know what that is.
Yeah. Also, I guess I do just want to say I'm happy that he never went home, quote unquote. He always stayed at the hotel. Even when Rachel left, he didn't then go to his family. He still maintained his
Yeah.
independence from that. So I just
Yeah.
I like this scene of she's on one side of the aisle and he's on the other, and he's just kind of trailing her down as they're talking. And there's just this very curious woman behind Rachel listening to everything.
yeah.
And he's just helping these little women put their bags up and to the compartments. And he's just so kind while he is trying to get her back.
Yeah,
He's a
he's
good
helping.
person.
Yeah.
But then he climbs over the middle seats and he gets down on one knee and he opens the ring case, and it's Eleanor's ring
Mhm.
that Eleanor's husband got made when Amar
Yeah.
wouldn't approve.
More
Yep.
show don't tell. We
Yeah.
now know that Eleanor has conceded and gave Nick the ring to give to her, which is huge.
Yes. And obviously we know how the movie is going to end once we see that ring. But
Yeah.
I love the woman behind Rachel because she goes, yes, 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 she'll marry you.
Yeah. And then the mom and that lady high five each other.
Yeah, so cute.
So funny. And it's like there is, but again, like, this isn't the point of this scene, but there's so much camaraderie back there in Coach
Mm-hmm.
that
Yep.
the wealthy people were not able to show the entire movie. But back there in Coach, right? People are helping each other. They're like
Right.
invested,
Happy for each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and he says he's going to come back to New York with her because she's like, well, what about your family and everything, right? So that's
Yeah.
like he's got
Home is
that kind of
where-
straightened.
Home is where you are, like, kind of thing.
Yeah, but then he says, but I did want to stay one more night. And obviously we have a lavish party thrown on the
Yeah,
top
already
of
organized, by the way. Like, with
Oh
all
my
the
gosh.
same
Oh,
people.
I forgot. You said lavish, and that is such an understatement, Lauren.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. This is 3 skyscrapers next to each other with a cruise ship spread out above the top of all 3.
Have
Is
you
it
ever
not?
seen that?
No, is that real?
Yes, that's a real building in Singapore. Yeah.
No.
Yes.
It looks like CGI. That
No.
looks impossible.
It's
That's
not.
incredible.
Actually, none of this was CGI. This is all real. That where that wedding took place with those trees.
Yeah.
This is yeah. But that
Gosh.
pool thing, my friend my friend, whatever, this girl that I coached, like, she well, I mean, she's like very much so an adult now, but like she has pictures. She had pictures in that pool on that thing.
That's incredible.
I know.
Cool. Well, they had a huge party, and that's it.
until the
Yeah.
little scene in the credits. Did you watch that?
No. What?
I mean, it's not like
Or did I? I don't know. Hang on.
I had gotten up to get myself chocolate, so I missed it.
Oh, hell yeah. She meets someone foxy.
Yeah.
well, she's there alone at this thing. She's got those.
Oh.
She's got you watching it right now.
Yeah. That's all it is, too.
Yeah, she just exchanges looks with this dapper gentleman at the bar.
Who is that,
man,
Astrid?
It's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's nice that they like
It's
you
funny
want
that that's how little the scene is, but it's the cutest thing. I'm glad they put it in there.
Yeah.
Cool.
all right,
All right.
rom to com.
That was pretty balanced. I would give it a 50-50.
I give it 50-50 as well.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I didn't laugh out loud a lot watching the movie, like, but I was very amused. You know what I mean? Like it didn't make me like like like
I think Aquafina made me laugh, especially like when I saw the stuff in her trunk, the clothing in her trunk,
yeah.
and things like. I think Aquafina made me laugh out loud a lot.
Aquafina made me laugh after the movie when I started watching her old music videos. That's just like, woo, did that hit the spot for me. But
Hmm.
like, like, but I agree with you guys. I would still give it 50-50. I'm just noticing, like, in hindsight, that I didn't laugh out loud a lot, but I was extremely amused. And
Hmm.
I think back on it very fondly. I like this movie. I'm glad this movie was made, and I'm glad that I watched it.
Well, let me
I
say this
honestly,
too.
oh, go
I
ahead.
I feel like, sorry. I feel like a lot of my assessment generally is did I laugh, but also like what I want to think about with this one is was there much romance? And I actually didn't really feel like there was a lot of romance. I just feel like we were watching them figure out if they could be together or not. You know what I mean? They like only really had like romance at the beginning and then when they were like googly eyes at each other at the wedding. But otherwise there was not really much.
That's actually a good point, Lauren. There
That
wasn't
is
a
a
ton.
really good point. I
Yeah.
haven't thought about that. And does that change the percentage of rom to com? Because are we assuming that because it's a relationship that that's the rom?
Yeah, actually, no. Yeah, I think that I'm now rethinking it, and I'm like, I'd have to probably give it like an 85-15, like 85 com, 15 rom, because you're right, there wasn't a ton of romance actually. There was love, but like,
Right.
it didn't follow the typical formula of a rom-com either, like they already were in love, they were already together, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think I'd have to redo that one,
I don't
in
think I
light,
would go so aggressive, but maybe 30 rum, 70 calm. And
yeah.
I did think it was funny. There's a lot of movies that when I start watching it, I'm afraid it's too dramatic and less comedic.
Hmm.
Especially like on rewatches where you think, oh, this was so funny, and then you
Hmm.
go back and you're like, wow, that was really problematic
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
instead
Which
of
is,
funny. Except for Wedding Singer. Wedding Singer holds up.
yes, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah. Wedding Singer did not feel problematic to me. And this one doesn't feel problematic either. It's not as old, but
Yeah.
you know. All right. No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, dateability.
Okay. Yeah.
Astrid, totally.
Yeah, I would
Yes.
I love
I
Astrid.
would sit in silence with her all day.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a love language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would not date Nick, but only because I does he talks so posh, and I just don't think I would have been attracted to that. So
Hmm.
it would have never gotten off the ground at all.
I wouldn't date him because he's friggin' oblivious.
Yeah. I don't think I would have made it that far though to even find out.
Yeah, right. I gotcha. Yeah.
I think Rachel is wonderful and probably I would date her. Yeah.
Hmm.
She seems like a lot of fun and smart.
I'm like a little intimidated.
Yeah.
You know, like
Should help your poker game.
she would help my poker game.
I think she would just make things interesting, kind of keep you on your toes. I don't think things would necessarily get boring.
I don't think she would be very happy with me.
No, I'm very boring myself. So she wouldn't be happy with me either. Any other ones?
Like, okay, so we would definitely date Astrid, all three of us.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Lauren, how about you?
I could not ever date Nick because I just feel like it would be too much of me explaining why he wasn't doing it for me.
Yeah. It's
You
like
know, like,
exhausting.
yeah, like I can't be pointing out blind spots all day. That's just going to turn into a nagging relationship and it's not going to be good for anybody. So,
Mm-hmm.
no to him. Yeah, I don't feel like we ever saw him. I mean, maybe we did, and I just didn't like it. He just doesn't seem super genuine, you know? And
It's like he's not a whole person yet.
Yeah,
yeah,
He, but he would get there.
yeah,
right.
like he's nice, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
he's just not
He would need some hand-holding.
thoughtful. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have time for that personally.
Yeah.
No, and like I also just think it's such a big turn off when it's, oh, by the way, here's like a huge detail about my life that I just didn't tell you. Like it feels like a little bit too much like a game. So anyway, there's that. Rachel, I think, is very reasonable. I like that she gives the benefit of the doubt. Like she doesn't shoot then ask questions. So I like that about her. I don't feel smitten with her, but I feel like we could go on some dates and see where it goes, you know?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Lauren, I could see you getting along well with her in a dating scenario. I don't think that she would like me very much at all, but I do think she would like you. Yeah, I could see that going somewhere.
All right, favorite quotes. I already said mine.
Mine is going to be okay. Kim Jong,
Uh-huh.
when they're just at the table, they're at the dinner table when they first meet, and he goes, "Let me get this straight. You both went to the same school, yet someone came back with a degree that's useful, and the other one came back as Asian Ellen." I thought that
Oh
was
my
funny
God.
because she did look like Ellen. It was weird. The haircut,
She had that
it was
blonde hair,
weird.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
That made me laugh.
I didn't take a note of it, but I think that my favorite quote was towards the end also when Pikeland when basically she's like Rachel's kind of given up on the whole thing. She's on her way to the airport and Pikeland's like helping her bring her bags out to the taxi and she's like I can't remember it exactly. I wish I could. She's like, "Well, you don't have this, you don't have that, and you know what I mean?" Like, do you remember what she
I
said
know
there?
the scene you're talking about. I don't remember what she said.
You're single, no money, no prospects, but you have your integrity.
Yes, yes.
That's why I
Yeah.
like you.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
was my favorite. That was my favorite quote for sure.
I'm just looking through quotes and I have to read this one. So Oliver, who was Hugh, right?
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
what's it called?
Happiness for beginners.
Yep, that's what I said. So in this movie, he says, it's about time somebody stood up to Auntie Eleanor, but you, not me. God,
Yes.
she can't ever know I was here.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny. I
Yeah.
felt really satisfied to see him in something else because I just had a feeling that he was good, you know,
Yeah.
and now I'm like, oh, I feel soothed by that. I'm like, he is good.